Welcome to the Environmental Justice Lab. I'm your host, Dr. Leslie Joseph. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me. And we are continuing to talk about these principles of environmental justice. It's really important that we're aware of the full scope of what these principles recommend, what they represent, and how they apply each and every day to everyone. It's not just for a certain group or for a certain place or for a certain level of country. Everybody benefits when we engage and apply these principles of environmental justice. And we are now on principle number 6. And here is what it says. I'm going to read it slowly. It's really important that you capture each of these words. Every word matters. Principle number 6. Environmental justice demands the cessation of the production of all toxins, hazardous wastes, and radioactive materials, and that all past and current producers be held strictly accountable to the people for detoxification and the containment at the point of production. And so this principle just highlights what I've been saying all along about environmental justice, which is simply this. It's not just the idea of getting pollution out of certain neighborhoods, removing pollutants from certain parts of a city or a country or a region. Environmental justice is all about not polluting. Need to stop polluting. That is the issue. Now, obviously, once the pollution starts, it lands disproportionately in Black and brown neighborhoods. It accumulates disproportionately in indigenous areas and lands, and it continues to manifest itself disproportionately in low income and poor communities. But the idea isn't to just reallocate the pollution and to make sure we are all being exposed to these toxins and that we all get a chance to endure these health outcomes that come from this toxic exposure. No, the idea is to stop polluting. Stop polluting. This principle states clearly the cessation of the production of these toxins, these hazardous wastes, these radioactive materials. We don't want them. We don't need them. We have better ways. There's better technology. There are other means of providing what the people need without having to pollute the planet to do it. We don't have to do that. We can get our energy in other ways. We can travel in different ways. We don't need all of this pollution in our environment. And this principle says clearly, stop it. Stop polluting. Stop producing toxic waste and toxic chemicals that we are all then exposed to and harmed by. That is what this principle is talking about, and it's very simple and it's very clear. There is no reason to continue to produce these harmful materials, these harmful hazardous wastes, these toxins. Stop it. I need all the corporations to stop it. I need all these industries to stop producing these toxic chemical waste streams. We don't want them. We don't need them. They're not required for us to live our lives. Maybe you thought so back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s when we were just industrializing and we were learning how to produce things on mass scales and factories and industries. And we had this revolution of technology that we were just getting used to, that we weren't clear about. We didn't understand the ramifications of the chemicals and the things we were doing. But now we know. Now we know. And because we know now, you can stop. You can stop. It's okay. Go ahead and stop. Use different forms of energy to run your operations. Use different approaches to produce your products. We have the technology. You have the engineers and the scientists and the supply chain managers that can create a healthier, more sustainable, more eco-friendly, more environmentally sound way of doing things. You can do it now. You don't have to rely on dated, polluting technologies and approaches to doing things because somebody's going to pay for it. If you think you're saving $1 by using some heavy-duty industrial chemical to make your process more efficient, well, somebody on the back end is going to be paying for it in poor health, poor academic performance, poor quality of life. Somebody's paying for it. And it's important to recognize that the people paying for it are those who are the most vulnerable in our societies, the ones who have the least ability to protect themselves from those harms, the people who have the smallest voice on stage when it comes to speaking against what's happening to them. That's where this pollution goes. That's where all of these toxins end up. And so we need to continue to remind any and everyone this principle. Stop polluting. We are demanding the cessation of the production of all these toxins, all of these hazardous wastes, all of these radioactive wastes. Stop producing them. Stop pumping them into the environment after you're done with them. We don't want them. We don't need them. They need to go. And furthermore, this principle demands that the producers of these waste streams, these pollutants that are harming everyone in the environment, that the producers are responsible to the people that they're harming. They're responsible to the people for detoxification. That means removing the toxins from the environment and protecting against the harm that it causes. That is the responsibility of the producers of those toxins. Let's be very clear about that. It's not enough to just tell the community that there's potential harm and danger and to make sure that you protect yourselves from it by doing this or doing that or staying indoors or wearing certain masks or seeking certain types of medical attention. It's not their responsibility. It's the producer's responsibility to ensure that we are protected from what they're doing. They're harming us. They're the ones that need to step in with whatever resources needed to remove those toxins from the environment around them. That is their responsibility. It is not the community's responsibility. It is not the city's responsibility. It is not some community organization's responsibility. They're doing it because they care about the community, they care about their people, but it's not their responsibility. It's the producers, the factories, the industries. They're responsible for protecting the community from their operations, from their waste, from their way of destroying the environment around them. They are the responsible ones. I can't say this clearly enough, and over again, I'll keep saying it. I'll keep saying it because I hear this a lot. Well, why don't the people just move away from these industries? They know it's harmful. They should do certain things to protect themselves. They need to make sure that it's not about them. It's about the producers, the people who are causing the harm. They are the ones who are responsible. If anyone gets sick, if anyone has cancer, asthma, COPD, any of these diseases as a result of their operations, then it's on the producers to address that and confront it directly. They are the ones who are responsible, not the community. And let's be very clear about this principle and what it says. They're responsible and they're accountable to the people for detoxification and the containment of these wastes at the point of production. So what does that mean? That means that it's not enough for these polluters to then go out into the community and say, oh no, we're sorry about that. let's try to help clean this up over here where you live. I mean, you need to do that because you've already done it. But the real accountability comes from you containing it where it's produced so it doesn't get out into the community, so it doesn't migrate into the water system, so it doesn't go into the air and pollute all the air around these communities. It doesn't pollute the soil where people are growing their crops and just playing and having a good time in their yards. It is the responsibility of the producers of these harmful toxins to ensure that they're contained where they're produced. If you refuse to do anything else in your processes to ensure that there's safety in the chemicals and the process that you're using, well, it's your responsibility to contain those toxins, contain those chemicals on your site, wherever you're operating from. That is your responsibility as the producer. You don't get to transfer that responsibility onto someone else, onto a community, onto a neighborhood, onto the government. You don't get to do that. Environmental justice demands that you stop producing these harmful toxins and chemicals, and that you are responsible and accountable for ensuring that those chemicals and those toxins don't impact people that live around your facility. And I mean, I get it. People are going to think about what we use every day and ask, well, then what's the goal? How are we going to do this if we can't use these chemicals to produce things like electronics and fuel for our cars and for our airplanes and for trains? And what are we going to do about the fact that so many of our products are built and mass produced using these chemicals? It's a great question. And I bet these producers would have an answer for it if we required their workers and their executives to live near their facilities, to live in proximity to these polluting industries. I promise you, if the CEO of ExxonMobil had to live next to his plant, right beside it, build his house there and live there within a mile of his facility, I promise you they'd have a different, more environmentally friendly way of doing their operation. I know they would. If the people who are in positions of authority and power in these industries were subject to the harm that their industries caused, they would do things a lot differently. There'd be a lot more innovation. There'd be a lot more opportunities to change the way things are done. Because that's the real issue, right? The real issue is there's a disconnect between the people who run these corporations, who profit off of the way they operate currently, and the people who are dealing with the fallout from these corporations, from these industries. Even the workers within those industries who are blue collar, who are just trying to get their job done and do their best work and feed their families, they're subject to harms and chemical exposures that those executives aren't exposed to. They don't ever see that cloud of smoke hovering over their neighborhood. They don't have to drink the water that's been contaminated by their facilities' inability to contain their chemicals on site. They haven't had to deal with that. And as a result, they don't have any motivation to do anything differently, especially if it costs them anything and it hurts, in their mind at least, the bottom line of their operation. It reduces their profit by a little bit. It requires them to do things a little bit differently. There's no interest because they're not affected directly by what's happening. And so it's up to us, the people, to continue to raise awareness, to raise our voices and say, hey, you need to stop producing these toxic waste streams that are harming us, and you need to come and make sure you remove what you have dumped on our community out of our community so we can have a clean environment to live in. because we're not moving. It's not our responsibility. It's on you, the producer, to clean this up. Don't ask for a government bailout. Don't ask for EPA to allocate funds to clean up these super fund sites that you've created. Come back in here and clean it up. And once you've cleaned it up, stop using the chemicals that polluted this area in the first place. That's what the principle is demanding. That's what the principle requires. We don't want to live in a world where we just believe that it's par for the course that we're going to get dumped on and we're going to be exposed to these heavy-duty industrial chemical agents in the name of progress or in the name of efficiency or in the name of employment. We don't need any of that. Environmental justice advocates, activists, scholars, academics, all of us believe in this principle. We believe that we should live in a world where there is no production of these toxic chemicals, that there is no production of these radioactive waste streams, that we have industries who intentionally and deliberately go out and remove the chemicals instead of deliberately and intentionally polluting with them. That's what we're looking for. That's what's required. That's what this principle demands. I'm going to read it again. I want you to hear it, listen to it again. This is principle number 6. Environmental justice demands the cessation of the production of all toxins, hazardous waste, and radioactive materials, and that all past and current producers be held strictly accountable to the people for detoxification and the containment at the point of production. That's what the principle demands. Think about it. The cessation of all toxins, right? And that all past and current producers be held accountable to the people. That is what this principle demands. That is what we should be consistently fighting for. And that is, in a nutshell, what environmental justice is all about. It is not about ensuring that we have equally distributed pollution in the world. It's that we don't have any. We have none. And if there's any that's being produced, it's so well contained from where it was produced that we're not exposed to it. That is what environmental justice truly is. And in that world where we could all live free from these industrial contaminants, free from the health issues that come from being exposed to this pollution, free from a world where polluters feel no accountability for their actions when it comes to harming the environment. When we can get to a place where the producers are utterly responsible, where we have no pollution leaving any facility sites, and where people can enjoy where they live without fear of being exposed to some industrial carcinogen, some harmful, toxic waste stream, then we've met Principle 6 and we have advanced to a world of environmental justice. Until then, we keep fighting, we keep pushing, we keep reminding people that this is what the demand is. And we're not wavering. We're not compromising. We're not capitulating. We need you to stop producing this toxic waste. And I need you to ensure that whatever you are producing doesn't leave your facility, doesn't enter into the environment, doesn't harm the people that I love in my community. That's the demand. That's principle number 6. Stop polluting. And with that, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Environmental Justice Lab, where we are for the people and the planet. We will see you next time.